Good afternoon and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. I'm Hugh McKay and I'm president of the board of directors of the City Club. In 1896, a very small business named Tootsie Roll was founded in Chicago, and the box supplier to Tootsie Roll was the grandfather of today's speaker, Karen Mills. Her grandfather ended up taking over the company, and her father and mother have served as chairman and president, respectively, of Tootsie Roll, that has perennially appeared on Forbes' list of best small companies. So Ms. Mills comes by her passion for small business naturally, as she now serves as head of the Small Business Administration. Small businesses create 2 out of every 3 jobs in America, and half the people who work in this country own or work for small business. As head of the SBA, Ms. Mills directs a federal agency with roughly 3,000 employees, and the SBA plays a leading role in helping grow and create jobs by helping small business owners and entrepreneurs secure financing, technical assistance, training, federal contracting opportunities, and dealing with disaster recovery. With a portfolio of direct and guaranteed business loans and disaster loans worth nearly $100 billion, the SBA is the nation's largest single financial backer of small business. Ms. Mills is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and has been vice chairman of the Harvard Overseers. She holds a BA in economics from Harvard University and an MBA from the Harvard Business School, where she was a Baker Scholar, and she has held numerous leadership positions in the corporate world before taking over the reins at the SBA. The SBA has gained a higher profile and increased influence under President Obama, who has made small business a cornerstone of the effort to revive and strengthen the economy. It is noteworthy that Ms. Mills' position has now, as of just 2 weeks ago, been elevated to a cabinet-level position. Ms. Mills says, quote, "Small business is at the heart of the economy. Support for both mom-and-pop shops on Main Street and for high-tech startups are critical for America to stay competitive." And, as Ms. Mills says, small business is the linchpin in the efforts to stimulate our economy. Please welcome to the City Club of Cleveland, Karen Mills.
Well, thank you. It is a very great honor to be with all of you today. Congratulations on this centennial. I was looking at all of the people who had spoken here, and in fact, I think James gave me a book, and it is really a great pleasure to be able to be part of that group. And thank you, Hugh, for that great introduction, because I think it's very important to add our voice to and our perspective on this important subject, the state of small business. And it's particularly important to do it here in Cleveland because I have a lot of history here in Cleveland with small business. One of the first businesses I ever was involved with and owned, besides Tootsie Roll, was a plastic injection molding company in Elyria. And in the 1980s and early 90s, even through that recession, I was out here dozens and dozens and dozens of times dealing with growing a manufacturing company, bringing it through a recession and helping it flourish on the other side. So I bring that perspective to today's job, which, as you can tell, is relevant. And as was mentioned, I've spent my career in the private sector. So I understand from that company in Elyria and many, many other small companies and my family upbringing, what it is to be a small business owner, what it is that small business owners face every day here in Ohio and really all across America. I understand what all of you are doing in your business, and what I've done is take those values with me to my job at the Small Business Administration. The experiences help me and all of us think about and create policies at the federal level that are going to work for small business and help them grow and thrive. And even better, I have a boss, President Obama, who really gets it about small business. He has made small business a priority from day one. And I know it was just mentioned that I had the great honor of being elevated to the President's Cabinet just 2 weeks ago today. And I was able to attend the State of the Union, and I'm going to refer to quite a few things that were discussed at that State of the Union as we discuss small business today. But even though the President made this announcement, it really is about small business. It is a sign of how much he has cared from the beginning of this administration about driving this economy and how much he understands the role that small businesses play. It is at making things better for small businesses really at the core of what we do, not just at the SBA, but all across the administration. So it's fitting that the first president to speak to the City Club was Teddy Roosevelt, and I understand that there's an invitation out to President Obama. I'm going to be sure to tell him how great it is to be here. But Teddy Roosevelt, now there have been a lot of comparisons between him and President Obama lately. Roosevelt spoke about the need to make sure that everyone gets a fair shot, and that government's role is to protect and defend the interests and the well-being of the citizens. When President Obama talks, as he did on Tuesday night in the State of the Union, about giving everyone a fair shot, one of the things that means is that giving entrepreneurs out there a chance to make it in this country. I'm looking at Costas here from Constantino's Markets, and where I was this morning with Sherrod Brown. But it is giving every entrepreneur out there a chance to make it in this country, a chance at the American dream. And that fostering innovation is really at the core of American values. We know the facts, and if we didn't, Hugh repeated them this morning. Small businesses create 2 out of every 3 jobs. And one that's not, I think, that well understood, half of the people in this country who work, half of them either own or work for a small business. So they're the foundation of the middle class, and they're part of the economic bloodstream of the country and one of our greatest assets. American entrepreneurs have a strong spirit, they have a resiliency that keeps them going, they believe in their ideas, and they energize the communities in which they live and work. Right now, small business owners are starting to get back to doing what they do best, leading the country down the road to economic recovery and prosperity once again. So our job at the SBA is to give small business owners and entrepreneurs the tools that they need so they can do just that. I want to give a few specifics about what agencies like the SBA are doing right now to fill some market gaps. And then most importantly, I want to talk about what we're going to do next in the future. How are we going to have strategies for spurring more entrepreneurship and more job creation in the future? First, though, let's go back to October 2008. Difficult time. The situation was pretty dire. Credit markets had just frozen. I hate to bring you back to that time because things are better now. But just for a moment, and I see the bankers out there, there were great small businesses out there that just couldn't get access to credit, could not get access to credit. And they couldn't get anything to just sustain their business, much less grow or hire anybody. And that was my number one concern when I arrived at the SBA. We had to do everything possible to jumpstart the credit market. So when the president came into office, the first priority was the Recovery Act. And it was a very good thing, and I'm always thankful to the President and Congress Passing the Recovery Act allowed the Small Business Administration to do some very important things. We upped our guarantees. You know, the SBA doesn't make loans. It guarantees loans that are given by over 5,000 banking partners all across the country. And when the Recovery Act was passed, we increased our guarantee to 90% and reduced or eliminated our fees. And a year and a half later, thanks to a lot of leadership, including Sherrod Brown, we were able to pass the Small Business Jobs Act, the most important piece of small business legislation to pass Congress in 10 years. And between the two of those, this worked. We were able to bring 1,000 lenders back to SBA lending who had not made an SBA loan since 2007. And we were able to increase all of the points of access all around the country and get more dollars flowing through them. Well, the formula worked. SBA last year had a record year. We made more loans than ever before in the history of the agency. We did $30 billion of SBA lending into the hands of small businesses. And I'm happy to say $2.1 billion was here in Ohio. And it was 6,000 businesses. And here in Cleveland, where's Gil Goldberg, our head of Cleveland office, we had a record year as well. So thank you to you. And a few other thanks, because I see Marianne Markowitz, our wonderful regional director, who's here as well, and our banking partners. And some of you got awards yesterday. We give an award called the Grand Slam Award, and Huntington Bank did win that with KeyBank, our wonderful Cleveland-based KeyBank, being the runner-up, and JP Morgan, Charter One, and First Merit, and Growth Capital were also recognized. So round of applause for these Ohio banks. Thank you. So I'm happy to say you can see the results of some of the things I'm talking about right here in Cleveland, and I'll give you an example. Where's Stuart Eisner? You're here, there in the back. So Stuart runs a company called Phoenix Steel, and I actually didn't know Stuart was going to be here, but in April 2010, which is coming on 2 years ago, I came to Cleveland and visited Phoenix Steel. And this is a company in the great tradition of Cleveland manufacturing companies that was a wholesaler, and it wanted to sell directly to customers. And they used one of these SBA Recovery Act loans that I've been talking about to buy a piece of equipment called a slitting line. It was a $2 million piece of equipment. I hope it's okay if I say that. So it was a substantial investment in 2010. And he says it's running great, right? Because they are now providing fully processed steel directly to manufacturing companies all around here. And Stuart also told me he's seeing a lot of businesses and his customers, fabricators, who are bringing things back from overseas. So we'll talk about that as well in a minute. But I'm pleased to say, I had in my notes that they've added 5 jobs. He said, oh, no, we've added 11 jobs, and now they have 44 employees. So that's how the recovery is happening. 11 jobs here, another 40 jobs in the market from this morning. Bit by bit, small businesses are leading the recovery. And I'll talk a little bit about the market. I was this morning at Constantino's Market with Senator Brown. This is another family business, and his daughter runs one operation. His son-in-law is going to run the business that's opening. It's an absolutely beautiful market, and with the help of 2 SBA loans so far, right? He expanded 3. Expanded one, opened one, expanded it. Now they're opening a 3rd store on the other side of town. That's 35 new jobs for people right here in Cleveland. That's how we get people back to work. So thank you. And I have to just take an aside and mention Sherrod Brown again. If he had not been leading the charge, we would not have been able to raise our SBA loan caps to $5 million, which we were able to do in the Small Business Jobs Act. And one of the reasons he spoke on the floor and he said it was so important is because of Ohio manufacturers like Phoenix Steel. You need to be able to buy machines and equipment to fill up your factory, and we need to be able to be there at levels like $5 million to support those activities. So thank you again to Sherrod Brown. So let me switch gears a little bit. When most people think of small businesses, they think of the dry cleaner and the local pet store and the hairdresser down the street. And the SBA helps all of those with a lot of the loans and the advice and counseling that you know us for. But we also are helping the high-growth, high-impact businesses, the innovators, our small business investment companies, which are partnerships with private investment groups, are investing in some of these small, high-growth companies, and they had a record year as well. We put $2.6 billion last year into the hands of small business, 1,300 companies through that program alone. So that's an absolute record year. And for those of you who care about streamlining, I would like to make sure you know that the processing time for getting approval to be an SBIC company, a small business investment company, used to be 15 months. And we have been able to take that down to 5.5 months. So we are paying attention to what the country needs, which is a streamlined, simplified operation that delivers value to small businesses in less time. And this is the same program that I'm very proud to say helped companies like Intel and FedEx get off the ground many years ago. So we're hopeful we have in our portfolios many of these great companies of the future. We are seeing good momentum right now. We're seeing a positive momentum, and some of you who I talked to as this talk began are also seeing some positive momentum in our economy. I used to, when I started this job, talk to business owners and they'd say, "Thank you for that loan, it saved my business." And now I hear, "Thank you for that loan, it allowed me to expand my business. It allowed me to buy that next piece of equipment. It's allowing me to hire more workers." So that's what good government should do. It should give small business a fair shot at what they do best, which is create jobs. That's what we've been doing in the past. I appreciate the chance to talk about that, but what are we doing now? What's important to do now? Right now, we need to build on the momentum of this recovery. We need to keep money in people's pockets. We need to continue to build the manufacturing base. The President has asked for a payroll tax cut on both employees and employers. I'm going to start with the employer side. The number one thing that small business owners tell me that they need is confidence. And what makes them confident? More cash in their pocket. If the President's plan was adopted, about 200,000 small businesses in Ohio alone would see their taxes, their payroll taxes, cut in half. That's more money that they can invest back in their business, and they do. Now, the employee side is just as important because at this critical point in our economy, the employees also need more cash in their pocket, create demand for the other small businesses. And I'm pleased to say that when Congress agreed to a 2-month extension of the employee payroll tax cut just before the holidays, that was a good thing. But we need to extend it all the way through this year. And if it doesn't happen, small businesses can get hit hard. Families would have $40 less in a paycheck, and that's 160 million Americans that will have less money to go into the economy. The way it hits small business, though, is more personal. So I was talking to small businesses about this back in December, and one of them in Florida told me this story. You know, small businesses think of their employees as family. And Costas said this exact thing this morning about his business, his employees all across of the city of Cleveland. But he said, this small business owner from Florida, he said, the employees are going to come into me and they're going to look at their pay stub and they're going to ask me why they got a pay cut. And what am I going to say to them? It wasn't me. So that's not acceptable, especially at this critical point when our economy is starting to show signs of growth. We need to keep the wins at the backs of the small business and all small business family, including the employees. Now, let me turn to one of my favorite areas, which is manufacturing. As somebody who's done business in Ohio, I know firsthand about this city's proud legacy of manufacturing. But let's take a moment to talk about a perception that has taken root all over this country in the last 20 years, that America no longer makes much of anything. That's become a foregone conclusion that it's financially prudent for businesses to move their production and the jobs overseas and do a race to the bottom for the cheapest labor. There's just one problem with that. It's not true. American manufacturing has added 325,000 jobs in the past 2 years. It's one of the bright spots in job creation. And the Institute of Supply Management survey shows 29 consecutive months of expansion, which is the longest streak since the 1970s. So today, America is still the largest producer of goods and services. 20% of the world's manufacturing output comes from America. So Made in America as a brand is strong. In fact, it's making a comeback. We have highest concentration of skilled labor, our production facilities are good, and of course, we have the most innovative entrepreneurs. So looking forward, our challenge is to build on this momentum that we're seeing in U.S. manufacturing, and particularly in the small and medium-sized manufacturers, of which there are many here in Ohio. Over the past 2 years, our manufacturing loans here in Ohio are up over 35%. Actually, that's here in Cleveland. And that's a positive sign. And we're committed to do more. We have a particularly strong interest in making sure that businesses are part of larger supply chains. Are any of you small business owners here? Any of you part of a supply chain of larger businesses? Well, this is very much true in this area. Costs are going up overseas. We have the opportunity to bring the pieces of the supply chains of larger companies back to this country. And that's why at the SBA we are launching the American Supplier Initiative. We are already helping small businesses, I don't know if you know this, in the government supply chain. We manage $100 billion of government procurement that goes to small businesses. And we want to take some of the special loans that we have created for manufacturers and supply chains and bring more commercial companies and their supply chains into this initiative. So you'll hear more about that in the coming weeks. We also know that there is a skills gap. Right now, if you ask American manufacturers, what's the big problem? You know what they'll say? Finding trained and qualified workers. It's the number one thing that they say right now. They're having trouble finding the right people with the right skills for the factory floors. Right now in this country, there are 3 million jobs unfilled. Unfilled. And we have so many people looking for work. So this is a problem that we can and will solve. Recognizing the mismatch that existed, President Obama recently asked manufacturers all across this country to team up with educators in community colleges, in technical colleges, to launch Skills for America's Future initiative. And this is a fast-track credentialing system for up to 500,000 more workers. We at the SBA partnered with the National Association of Manufacturers, and helped launch a 16-week curriculum that provides a trainee with a new piece of knowledge or specific skill that is very highly attractive to an advanced manufacturer. The first area of focus, and I think some of you might like this, is precision manufacturing, and particularly the training of CNC operators. Many of you know what that is. And I know actually that there are Cleveland companies who can use these trained operators. So that's what we've been doing today, but what do we need to do more of in the months and the years ahead? To have a prosperous economy and to stay competitive, you know, and the President is clear, that we must do more to create growth. Right now, the economy is growing. It's added 3.2 million jobs. But we have to push. We have to push at all levels to keep this growth on track. And we have to make sure that we help America's small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have to make sure that everybody who wants to start a small business has the opportunity to do so. We have to harness America's capacity for entrepreneurial innovation, and we have to bring jobs back and export more. We need to reduce the barriers for small businesses to be successful. And right now we're at a unique moment. We're at an inflection point where we've got the opportunity to grow and to build an economy that's built to last. At the SBA, we are constantly thinking about where do we focus our government-wide small business resources in order to move the needle and get the biggest bang for the taxpayer buck, and to help the job creators. In particular, we're leading an effort to help the most innovative entrepreneurs. I'm just going to give you a couple examples from Cleveland here. Let me tell you about a man named Hirokuchi Fujitsu. And he was, you might know him, he's from Mayfield, and he is the CEO of Quality Electrodynamics. And you may have seen him because he was one of Mrs. Obama's guests sitting in the First Lady's box at the State of the Union. He came to this country, he was born in Japan, and he came to get a degree at Case Western, of course. He stayed and he formed a company. It's a real kind of American success story. The company, QED, makes image detectors and other pieces of equipment for MRI machines. And now QED is one of the world's largest suppliers of these products, ships them all over the globe, and guess where he's exporting a lot of them to? Japan. He added 20 employees over the last year. He's looking to hire 50 more. Why do I bring him up? Of course, he used an SBA Small Business Innovation Research Award to help achieve this. And here's what he told the Cleveland Plain Dealer. He said, the government cannot start your business, but they can help accelerate what you do. That's what we must do. Help accelerate the growth, help the job creators, create tomorrow's economy. One more small example. The federal government is helping small business bring the best innovations from the drawing board to the marketplace through regional clusters. Some of the most advanced flexible electronics are made right here in Northeast Ohio. And the SBA is partnered with Nortec Regional Economic Cluster. I think I saw them here. Who's here from Nortec? Yes. It's quite extraordinary, leading edge technology, and it's leading the world. And you're lucky to have Ray Leach here in Cleveland. He is the CEO of Jumpstart. And I know he's making an economic impact with an accelerator for small companies right here in this region. When I was here with President Obama, we went over to Cleveland State. It's about a year ago, and he actually highlighted Ray's work and the vision for fostering entrepreneurship by investing money and other resources into these fledgling companies. So that's how we do it. You know, the president quoted Abraham Lincoln in his speech on Tuesday night. I don't know if you heard this, but he said, government should do for people only what they cannot do better by themselves and no more. That's what we're focused on at the SBA and across the administration. We're doing an important and effective job at putting the wind at the back of small businesses at a pretty good bang for the taxpayer buck. But we need something more. We need an effective partnership with the private sector. And as I look out, I see powerful business community leaders from here in Cleveland. A great Cleveland tradition, I think. You're people who make a difference in your business, and you make a difference in your community. So, my question to you is this. What's your role? What's the role of business to ensure that this country remains competitive? We're at a decisive moment. The potential for job growth in the American manufacturing and service industries is high. We have the most innovative entrepreneurs. We have the best research universities. We have continued opportunities to sell American products in global marketplaces and return operations to American shores. We ask you to become mentors, to seek out American suppliers, to help small business owners grow. We ask you to support America's innovative entrepreneurs, and we will be your partner. Or maybe you're a young entrepreneur out there. We need you to build the next generation of great American companies. We need you to step out. We need you to take risks. And if you fail, we need you to get back up and do it again. And we pledge to be with you every step of the way. In Pittsburgh recently, the president said, "The story of America's success is written by America's entrepreneurs. Men and women who took a chance on a dream, and they turned that dream into a business and somehow changed the world." As you know, I grew up in a family of immigrant entrepreneurs, and that resonates with me. I believe in American entrepreneurship, and I believe in the American dream. And if we do this together, we will build a robust middle class, an innovation culture, and an opportunity for everybody who has an idea to pursue it. Ohio is a great place to start a business. There are terrific universities, wonderful know-how, true spirit of get up and go. It's up to you and me to make sure that all of the dreams have the ability to take off, to create the jobs that America needs now, and a future of American growth and prosperity. Thank you for having me here.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we're listening to a forum featuring Karen Mills, head of the SBA. We will return to Ms. Mills momentarily for the traditional City Club question and answer period. We encourage you to go ahead and formulate your questions now. Please remember to keep them brief. We remind members and guests alike you're all welcome to participate in City Club forums, and we hope everyone listening will join the City Club. If you're not already a member of the City Club, we can really use your support, and we encourage you to join the City Club. We welcome all of you here and those listening to WCPN 90.3 FM, WCLV, WTAM, or one of the many radio stations across the country. Our television broadcast partner is WVIZ PBS IdeaStream. Television broadcasts of the City Club are made possible by Cleveland State University and PNC. Our live webcast is supported by the University of Akron. This year, the City Club of Cleveland is turning 100 years old. We have many great events happening and will be actively soliciting support from the community through our campaign for a new century. Please visit our website at www.cityclub.org for the most up-to-date information about City Club events and to see how to become a member. We're pleased to welcome guests at tables today hosted by Cuyahoga Community College, Huntington Bank, Kent State University, Key Bank, Medical Mutual, Nortec, and St. Paul's Church. Thank you all for joining us today. Now we'd like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding microphones today, we have City Club Program Director Carrie Miller and Special Initiatives Coordinator Phil Williams. First question, please.
Ms. Mills, Bob Schmidt. I have a number of small businesses in Cleveland. And first of all, congratulations on your new appointment, and thank you for coming here today. My question relates to the fact that the small business contracting goal is 23%. The 23% of federal expenditures ought to go to small businesses. Yet in the area where we can make the most bang for the buck in creating new patents, new developments, is in R&D. And small businesses have shown to be able to produce 15 times the number of patents, which the Federal Reserve says creates the most wealth, more than education, as patents is the #1 indicator. And so small businesses, we can get tremendous bang for the buck in creating jobs, wealth, and new patents and new inventions to be able to export. Yet in this area, in R&D, the federal government only spends 4.3%. So it's about 1/5 of what the goal is of 23%. So my question is to you is, what, in your new position, do you propose to be able to do about this, and particularly increasing the SBIR from the 2.5% up to the 3%, but then, what are we going to do to get SBIR, STTR, Phase 3s, and other new innovative programs up to the 23% of the federal goal? Thank you.
Well, thank you. You make a number of good points about a topic that I didn't cover much today, which is government procurement. Probably not many of you are aware that the largest program that the federal government runs for small business is a program which determines that 23% of all of the government contracting that is done needs to go to small business. That's $100 billion every year. And the cost to taxpayers? Zero. It actually is a win-win because, as many in the Defense Department and other agencies have told me, you're actually getting the most innovative companies when you deal with small businesses, and often the attention of the CEO servicing the contract. So we, every year, work to get $100 billion, or 23%. And I'm very happy in the last reported year, which was 10, we were at 22.7. So 22.7, if you round up, is 23. That said, we are working extremely hard with these budget reductions and all things with our sister agencies to make sure there is a strong flow of qualified small businesses in the contracting arena so that they have access and opportunity, and we can get this win-win for procurement. The second point you made, though, is what about the innovation component? Where are the dollars coming from the federal research budget going into the hands of small business? Well, I described one example of that today. It's part of the SBIR program, the Small Business Innovation Research Program. And that actually is quite a substantial program. It's $2.5 billion, or 2.5% of the federal research budget, and it runs through 11 agencies that have research dollars. The great news is that we have just worked with Congress to reauthorize that program for 6 years. This was a reauthorization that was stuck in controversy for, I don't know, I think it was extended or not dealt with 17 times. And this Congress, I really have to give credit, came forward in a bipartisan way in December, just this past month, and passed a 6-year reauthorization. So now we are assured that we will have this multi-billion-dollar program going into the hands of these small businesses. And we know this money has been used effectively. 25% of R&D Magazine's top 100 innovations for a whole 5-year period in the recent past came from companies who'd had SBIR grants. So we're very pleased about that program. We're going to continue in that legislation to grow it a bit. We're going to put a lot more streamlining in the access portals that we have so you can find out about these opportunities more seamlessly. So if you go to SBA.gov and you look under SBIR, you're going to be able to see what might be available for grants.
Ms. Mills, I want to thank you for coming to Cleveland. My name is Major G, retired. Is it possible you could use your organization and the new tax credits that have been put into law to get small business employers to start rehiring these returning veterans? Because Cleveland, and especially Ohio, has a large percentage, and I'm not going to quote you statistics, which I don't know, but I venture to say a large percentage of your unemployed are these fellas and young ladies that are coming back from our wars. That's all my question.
Well, as you know, the First Lady has an intense effort focused on veterans families, and returning veterans. So last fall, we partnered with the First Lady and put forward a program to help these returning veterans who are entrepreneurs or want to become entrepreneurs. And I'm sure you would, when you think about it, it's logical. You would know that veterans over-index in starting businesses. And they have lots of leadership qualities that translate very well into entrepreneurship. Sometimes, though, they don't have that innovative idea that they want to start in their garage. So they fit very well into the franchise world. And we partnered with the International Franchise Association to provide entrepreneurship training and some franchise discounts and some mentoring programs for them to have the opportunity to start various franchises. And, you know, veterans hire veterans, so we also put the call out among these franchisees to hire some of these returning veterans as well. That's one of many programs. You will see us come forward shortly with another major program for returning veterans as they come back, because we see this once again as a win-win. It's important that these veterans who have served our country don't have to come home and fight for a job. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that they are prepared to find a business opportunity and to have the education and training to be successful.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Hollifield, co-founder of the America 21 Project. And our role, if you will, is to help connect disconnected Americans to regional innovation clusters. As you know, the overwhelming majority of America's innovation assets are in the urban and metropolitan centers of our nation, yet many, far too many residents are utterly disconnected from them. Our role is an intermediary role to help ameliorate that challenge. We want to report to you and commend your team, Ms. Marie Johns, Ms. Marissa Lee, and Ellen Kim, who just this morning met with my colleague, Chad Womack, in Washington, D.C. to explore this very matter. It was a great meeting. You have a great team. My question is, President Obama has invested heavily in regional innovation clusters. They've been a wonderful boon to the U.S. economy. However, how can we partner and explore how to innovate those clusters that innovate regional economies by connecting disconnected citizens to those clusters? In other words, connect to where the puck is going, not where it is, and God forbid, where it has been.
Well, first of all, thank you for those comments. I have the best team at the SBA. And that starts with the folks here in Cleveland and really all across the country in the field and back in Washington, including Marie Johns, who you just mentioned, my terrific deputy. Well, I have a long history with regional innovation clusters. It is, in fact, what opened the door for this pathway into public service. I come from the great state of Maine, and the Naval Air Station in my town went on the base closure list in 2005. And the governor asked me to get involved to find some jobs for the base. And we formed a regional innovation cluster around the Maine boat builders. And trust me, there's nobody less likely to cluster than the main boat builders. But they did. And that showed me the power of taking an asset that you have. You know, Maine has been building boats for over 400 years, but we had some technology at the University of Maine in composites, and we were able to create a competitive advantage. And right now, I went back to the base, you know, this many years later, and there are composite companies operating in that area. So I know that across the country, I brought that experience to the SBA, and in partnership with many other agencies, we have formed over 40 clusters all across the country. This year, we're going to focus on manufacturing, advanced manufacturing clusters, because they give a big economic bang for the buck. And you raise a very important point. They are inclusive clusters. They need to reach into a diverse community, including the rural communities. So we have clusters that are in rural areas, we have clusters that are agriculturally connected, and we have clusters that are reaching into different components of the workforce, connecting them to where the jobs are. And that workforce development piece is actually one of the most important parts of successful clusters, so we're going to be emphasizing that. Thank you.
Ms. Mills, Richard Stubbe. I'm with the venture capital firm Early Stage Partners. As the name implies, we are an early stage venture capital firm, and we're very interested in the planned program that that SBA is proposing for the early stage SBIC program. We're aiming to raise our next fund in the next 12 to 18 months, and my question to you is, what's the timeline by which you anticipate the early stage SBIC program to roll out? Because we really would like to leverage that to the fullest extent possible, and we're hoping that it can be implemented and actualized in the next 6 months, and I was wondering if you think that's a reasonable time frame.
Yes, I do. I think in the next 6 to 12 months, this program will be live and operational. It is already in the process of being out for public comment and final formulation. And let me explain for a minute what this is. A year ago, it's actually the first anniversary is next week, we started something called Startup America. And Startup America is a public-private partnership. The president asked Steve Case, who is the founder of AOL, to lead this. And we have formed a whole set of activities around trying to help those innovative high-growth companies. One piece of it is to take our successful SBIC, Small Business Investment Company program, and formulate it for early stage companies. That whole valley of death for early stage companies has gotten wider. As venture capital money has gone down and shrunk, as friends and family and angel investors have less money to put forward to these entrepreneurs, and there are more and more companies just struggling for capital in that gap. And once again, we have a program. We committed $1 billion over 5 years to funding public-private partnerships, SBICs, which will invest in early-stage companies. And that's under this Startup America partnership, and it is well on its way to being open for business.
Hello.
And we're glad you're interested.
Hi, my name's Taylor. I live tweet on Fridays for the City Club, and we have a question from one of our followers on Twitter. Jim.
How many of you tweet? Okay, go ahead.
Jim Gepperth says there's too much emphasis on small business loans. Small business owners don't want more debt. Could you please describe other ways to assist small business owners other than loans?
Well, I'm very pleased for that question, because I've been feeling a little bit like I left out one of the most key parts of the small business administration activity, and that is advice and counseling. It turns out, as your tweeter mentioned, that loans are actually not the most important thing that you do for most small businesses. It is the advice and the counseling that actually drives better and better performance. We have data that says if you have a long-term counselor, you have better sales, better profits, more longevity, and you hire more people. So I very often ask a group like this, how many of you have a long-term counselor? And usually I get just like a couple hands up. So what I say to you all is, if you don't, you should. And the good news is it's free through the SBA. So if you go to sba.gov, you can find access to one of the 900 small business development centers that we fund in partnership with local universities and community colleges. Or you can get yourself a SCORE counselor, a mentor, one-on-one relationship. These are retired executives who often know lots about your business and your industry. And if you don't really want to sit down with them in person because you're busy, you can do it online at your convenience, 9 o'clock at night, when you've finished all the rest of the work in your small business. So I encourage you to take advantage of these resources, and I think they will provide great value for small businesses out there.
Good afternoon, Karen. I'm Steve Kunk from PNC Bank. I was wondering if you'd make a few remarks about the other part of your announcement of your elevation regarding the consolidation of some of the agencies or other parts of the government, just what you think may happen there.
Absolutely. But you remind me to thank once again the bankers who are here. One of the last times I was in Cleveland, it was with the Vice President to announce that our 13 largest banking partners, so this includes many of you here, KeyBank and others, and the KeyBank CEO, wonderful woman, was with us to make that announcement. 13 of our largest lenders committed to do $20 billion in incremental small business lending over the next 3 years. And that will really help fill the gap that we still have in access to capital for small business. So I want to thank those partners, and remember that it was here in Cleveland that we chose to make that announcement. The President asked 2 weeks ago Congress for the authority to do reorganizations. Every chief executive officer, everybody who runs an operation needs to have and should have the authority to make things run more seamlessly and more smoothly. Presidents have had that authority since Herbert Hoover. But in the Reagan era, that authority lapsed. So since 1984, that's been absent. And as a result, we have activities that relate to small business in agencies all over government. And we have many other things that aren't operationally the way you would design them if you were in charge of making an organization for the 21st century needs of the economy and for small business. The President really believes in making government work. And this is a piece of it. So he's asked for that reorganization authority. One of the examples he gave was to reorganize all of the trade activities and the small business activities and the innovation activities under a competitiveness and business innovation agency that would be a new entity. And that was an example that I think many of us were very excited about, because we saw that a lot of the things that are across different agencies could be much more seamlessly linked for the benefit of small businesses, making it easier for them to navigate. And that's a big priority.
Thank you for taking our questions. I have two quick ones. One is, do you feel unionizing smaller and smaller businesses will help small businesses create jobs? And secondly, do you feel the NLRB's recent proposal to force businesses to turn over employees' names, phone numbers, email addresses to unions on demand an infringement on privacy rights?
You know, what's been interesting about this job for me is to work hand in hand with a lot of different constituencies, and one of which has been American labor movement. And one of the things that I have seen is that there is a new face on the American labor movement, and I'd point you to the way we have joined with the auto workers to create a new auto industry. So what I'm seeing now is an understanding, and very, very often at these tables we have labor, we have business, and we have universities and other institutions. When these institutions talk and when they work together, we get extraordinary win-wins. So when I look at small business, I see the opportunity for more trained workforce. And one of the ways that right now I think the union movement is stepping up is in skills and apprenticeships. And I think that there are enormous productive activities that small business, our labor movement of today are doing together, and those are the areas on which we're going to make more and more progress.
Good job. Good job. Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we've been listening to Karen Mills, head of the Small Business Administration. Thank you, Ms. Mills. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned. Great.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.